I will be taking Dark Magician to YCS Niagara Falls. We have until October 2024 to prepare for this event. Join me on this progression series to make Dark Magician as competitive as possible, and over the course of these next few months, we will be working on theory, application, and crafting the most optimal list for the event. In this video, along with briefly going over my results over the last few runs at locals, we will be going over some combos to give you a better understanding on how I play this deck. As we open up the winnings from our last locals run where we finished with an X1 record guaranteeing us a second place finish, on screen you'll see the results from the last few runs along with some matchups and how we did during those events. Before moving on to the reason why everyone is here, I do want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's made this YouTube journey a possibility for me. And as a thank you, I want to be giving away the 3 copies of Magician's Souls and 3 copies of Illusion of Chaos to my viewers. Without you guys, I wouldn't even be thinking about doing this right now. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I will be giving these away. All you need to do is like the video, be subscribed, and let me know in the comments down below what your dream Dark Magician support is. That's all you need to do. I just want to thank everyone for watching me up until this point, and as a token of my appreciation, I do want to give away these 6 cards which have been with me throughout my entire YouTube journey, so these are very, very special to me. The combo we'll be starting off this video with is the Toy Box combo. We'll be playing the 1 Toy Box, 3 Unknowns, and any access to a Magician's Souls. This deck has a plethora of avenues to Magician's Souls that you can access, which is really, really effective, and any access to Magician's Souls in Toy Box guarantees you this board. We'll start off the combo by activating our copy of Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls will pitch our Dark Magician from deck to grave, summoning Magician's Souls. We will then activate our copy of Toy Box, setting both Toy Tank and Toy Soldier from the deck into the spell and trap card zone. Magician's Souls can activate its effect, sending both Toy Tank and Toy Soldier to the graveyard, which essentially allows us to draw 2 Unknowns. Here, we can go Chainlink 1 Toy Tank, Chainlink 2 Toy Soldier, summoning both to the field, and then Toy Soldier will activate its effect, grabbing us our copy of Guiding Quem. In this situation, we have 5 Unknowns with Guiding Quem, and assuming that one of these cards is a normal summon, we do have access to Toy Tank, which can summon Guiding Quem. So if we open Magician's Rod in this situation, we have another million different avenues. In fact, if we open Magician's Rod, Soul Servant, we do have access to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is really, really strong as well. So in this situation, what we can do is we can, assuming that none of these are playable, we can normal summon our Guiding Quem. Guiding Quem will activate its effect, sending Blazing Cartesia from our deck to our graveyard. Now this is a very interesting interaction. Magician's Souls can link off into a card like Artemis, which will then trigger Guiding Quem to summon back our Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. Once we're in this game state, we pretty much have a million different avenues and lines that we can go into, assuming we know our matchup. If I don't know my matchup, something I really like to do is actually link off Toy Soldier and Artemis into a card like Cross Sheep. With Cross Sheep on the board, it gives us an extra access to another level 4, which then we could access by fusing Blazing Cartesia's effect to fuse itself and Guiding Quem. You can use Toy Tank here, it doesn't really matter, into a card like Grangin the Dusk Dragon. Grangin can activate its effect, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2 Cross Sheep to summon back our Blazing Cartesia. Now in this situation, our Grangin will send our El Shaddoll Apkallone from the extra deck to the graveyard. We will add Shaddoll Schism from our deck to our hand, discarding a random card. With our game state in this situation, what we have is 4 bodies on board, 5 cards in hand, 1 being a Shaddoll Schism, with a Winda going into our opponent's turn. Here, if we get interrupted or something along those lines, we can hard make a Lulu Willoth with our Cartesia and our Grangin. But typically in this situation, I think it's perfectly fair if you just link these off into, for example, a Appaloosa, if you want. If you don't want to do that, an option you can take is essentially overlaying these two into a Daigusto Emerald if you did open up Timaeus or Soul Servant to revive your Dark Magician. If you are playing it, you can play Abyss Dweller, which is also an interesting interaction in and of itself. We can use these two to link off into an SP. But assuming that we don't know what my opponent is playing, something I do like to do is simply synchro these two off into a card like Luluwaleth, and then link these two off into an SP Little Knight, and then we set our Shaddoll Schism, and in the end phase we have back our access to Blazing Cartesia. So in this situation, what we have, this is the worst case scenario with just Souls and Toy Box. We have a Negate, an SP Banish, Shaddoll Schism with 4 cards in hand, with 5 cards in hand, one being Cartesia. That's assuming you didn't open an access to like cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. You can go into cards like IP as well. There's a million different lines. However, this is relatively enough to stop your opponent from playing. Just the sheer amount of advantage you can generate with this. And remember, we can do all this without a normal summon as well. We just lose access to SP. However, SP can also be something completely different. So that is kind of the worst case scenario of the combo. Like I said, there are a million different lines. However, in this situation, we're working with 4 unplayable cards in hand. If these cards are playable, I'll show you what we're looking at. After a quick shuffle and a cut, we'll draw our first 5 cards, and we'll begin to provide a combo to give a better understanding of how this deck kind of wants to function. So we really didn't open optimally here with Palladium Oracle Mahad and Dark Magician in hand. Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. We'll start by activating our copy of Toy Box. Toy Box will set our Toy Soldier and our Toy Tank from our deck to our Spell and Trap Card zone. And here we could activate Wanted, which will grab us access to Diabellstar, the Black Witch. Here we can go Diabellstar effect, sending Toy Soldier to the graveyard, summoning Diabellstar, chainlink 1 Diabellstar, chainlink 2 Toy Tank, or Toy Soldier, sorry, summoning Toy Soldier, grabbing access to, probably in this situation, we want our Guiding Quem, and Diabellstar will activate its effect, grabbing our Sinful Spoils of Doom, setting that to the graveyard, setting that. Here, what we can do is we can normal summon our Guiding Quem. Guiding Quem will activate its effect, sending our Blazing Cartesia to the graveyard. And here we have a few different lines we could take. We could probably link these two off into, for example, a Cross Sheep. And we can go chainlink 1 Cross Sheep, sorry, chainlink Guiding Quem as chainlink 1 as a trigger, summoning back our Blazing Cartesia. Cartesia effect, fusing these two into a Granganol the Dusk Dragon. Chainlink 1 Granganol, chainlink 2 Blazing Cartesia. Chainlink 1 Granganol, chainlink 2 Cross Sheep, summoning back our Blazing Cartesia. And then here, our Granganol will activate its effect, sending a copy of El Shaddoll Apkallone to the graveyard, grabbing our copy of Shaddoll Schism. Now this hand isn't optimal because we did open 2 bricks. However, sometimes that's just how it is. We'll pitch our copy of Palladium Oracle Mahad because it's not really needed right now. And what we can do in this situation is I'd probably just link these two off into a SP. And proceed to set our Forbidden Droplet and our Shaddoll Schism, leaving Dark Magician in hand. In the end phase, we do add back our Blazing Cartesia. Now, on our opponent's turn, what we have here is some very interesting interactions. So we can use Sinful Spoils of Doom, targeting Granganol, which is an interruption in and of itself. We can activate Forbidden Droplet, sending a card like Toy Tank, for example, or Dark Magician if needed, or Blazing Cartesia, whatever. Well, for the purpose of this, we'll send our Toy Tank to the graveyard to deal with a negate, and then Toy Tank will activate its effect, summoning itself to the field. And if we want, on top of all that, we can do Shaddoll Schism to summon our copy of Winda. On top of all of that, Granguignol does have an effect where it can banish itself to summon a card like Lulu Walleth. Now, on the follow-up, we can draw a random card in hand. In this case, it's Soul Servant, which is really, really strong. In addition to this, we can activate our Wanted, putting back our Sinful Spoils, getting another card. So we'll get Timaeus. And this is kind of where our board is going into turn 3, assuming we don't die. SP Little Knight is an interruption of it in it as well, which is pretty decent for a hand that was really lackluster. As we're going to our second test hand, something that I've noticed and something that you'll notice is that this deck struggles to have one line of play. What this deck demands is a lot of freestyle interactions to essentially give you the ability to take the 5 cards you have in hand and making the most out of that situation. So a hand like this is very interesting, as we do have access to that Magician's Souls and Toy Box combo. We can start by activating our Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos will grab us access to Magician's Souls. And then we will put back 1 copy of Toy Box, because it doesn't really matter. We can activate our Magician's Souls in this situation. Magician's Souls can pitch our copy of Dark Magician from our deck to our graveyard, and we can summon our Magician's Souls. Now, for a situation like this, there are avenues where we can utilize Illusion of Chaos as a negate if we are scared about Nibiru in a situation like this. However, for the most part, we are kind of just going full combo, assuming our opponent doesn't have any interruptions. If you do read an interruption, you could play it around it then. We could activate our copy of Toy Box in this situation. We can then set Toy Soldier and our Toy Tank. Having both Toy Soldier and Toy Tank set, here we can normal summon our Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod will be grabbing our copy of Soul Servant. Now, the reason for this is I want value off the Soul Servant, because Soul Servant pretty much guarantees a card in our hand that we might need. In addition, Soul Servant is a draw later on in the turn. And in this situation, we don't need we don't need another normal summon, because Toy Tank can facilitate an extra summon when we search Quem. So we can activate Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls will pitch our Toy Tank and Toy Soldier. For cost, we can chain Soul Servant, stacking our copy of Timaeus the United Dragon. Now, what this will enable us to do is Timaeus is an avenue for Dragoon later on in the combo. So here, what we will do is we will draw our 2 cards, Timaeus and Diabellstar, which is actually insane. We then go Chainlink 1 Toy Soldier, Chainlink 2 Toy Tank, summoning both to the field. And here, Toy Soldier will activate its effect, grabbing us our copy of Guiding Quem the Virtuous. So here we have 5 cards in hand, a full board with a few more interactions that we can take care of. So here we can go Toy Tank effect, pitching it to summon our Guiding Quem. Guiding Quem will activate its effect, sending our Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous from deck to grave. With our game state in this situation, we theoretically do lose to Nibiru. However, with our cards in our hand, even with Nibiru, if our opponent does have Nibiru, we can play after it, which is really effective. With the way this deck generates advantage, Nibiru isn't much of a threat. So with our game state in this situation, what we can do is we could use Magician's Rod to link it off into a card like Artemis. With Artemis on the field and an extra deck monster leaving the extra deck, with a monster leaving the extra deck, Guiding Quem will activate its effect, summoning our Blazing Cartesia. In this situation here, we can use our Artemis and our Magician's Rod to summon our copy of Krashi from our extra deck. And here we could utilize Blazing Cartesia's effect, fusing both itself and Guiding Quem into a card like Granguignol. So at this point, if our opponent nibs us, it doesn't matter, because Granguignol does have an effect. We go Chainlink 1 Granguignol, Chainlink 2 Krashi. we can play after this, and our opponent does have to deal with Winda. So at this point, you're relatively safe. So with Cross Shape as Chainlink 2, we do summon our Blazing Cartesia. Granguignol does activate its effect, sending our copy of El Shaddoll Apkallone to the graveyard, grabbing us our Schism. Now, in this situation, you might be thinking, okay, why did we search Timaeus on that turn? Well, here what we can do is we can discard our copy of Illusion of Chaos, and what we can do is we can overlay our Blazing Cartesia and our Toy Soldier into a Daigusto Emerald. Daigusto Emerald can detach our Cartesia to summon back our Dark Magician. Now, if you see where this is going, what we can do is we could utilize Timaeus by sending our Granguignol. If we don't want to send the Granguignol, we can send the Diabellstar after we do a lot of interesting plays, but the Diabellstar can be saved for last. So we will send our Granguignol to summon our Timaeus. Timaeus does activate its effect, fusing both itself and Dark Magician into our copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Now here, what we can do is we can go Diabellstar effect, pitching Daigusto. Don't really want to do that. I want to keep the body on board, so we can pitch Toy Box. We don't really need it anymore to summon our Diabellstar. Diabellstar can activate its effect to set our copy of Sinful Spoils of Doom from the deck to the grave, from our deck to our Spell and Trap card zone. Here, what we can do is we're going to need a copy of a card in hand for Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. We will guarantee to have Cartesia in hand. However, if we do set our Schism and our Imperm, we do open up an opportunity for our opponent to nib us without a negate, and that's a problem. So we do have Soul Servant Engrave here, which we can banish to draw one card. We drew into another Toy Box, so, we're never punished. What we can do in this situation, we can link off into Daigusto Emerald and our Cross Sheep into, for example, if we don't have the spells needed necessary to make a Selene, but we can make an SP. We can make an SP Little Knight. Here we can set our Schism and our Imperm, and in the end phase, our Cartesia adds back to hand. So what we have here is we have a boatload of different interruptions that we could utilize to essentially going into our opponent's board. We have Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is an insane threat that our opponent does have to deal with. We do have a Sinful Spoils of Doom targeting our Diabellstar to essentially have a Slifer the Sky Dragon board wipe effect. In addition, Diabellstar is now unaffected. So timed very well, Sinful Spoils of Doom is a fantastic interruption if you do time it well, and that's very, very important. So once that's done, we can utilize our Dragoon Negate by sending either Toy Box or Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. It doesn't really matter in this situation. We'll just send Cartesia. In our graveyard, we do have a Granguignol, which can facilitate an interruption in and of itself by summoning a card like Despian Luluwilith. SP Little Knight can be a banish on our opponent's turn. In addition, we do have an Imperm, and if our opponent plays through all that, they need to do it all through one special summon by essentially getting us access to Winda. And all this essentially also allows us to trigger our Magician's Rod, which can guarantee us some sort of follow-up by grabbing us Soul Servant, which is an extra card. So that's essentially the board that our opponent does have to deal with on their turn, sorry. And I think that's like a plethora of interactions and layered interactions at that, which is very, very difficult to break for most players. Going into the last test hand of the video, there are just some thoughts in my head as opposed to the ceiling of this deck. Now, very similar to the deck profile I uploaded a few months ago with the Horus cards and the Bestial cards. This deck does have an unbelievably high ceiling, however, it dies to a lot of hand traps. Fortunately, we are kind of moving away from a hand trap meta in regards to Snake Eye Fiendsmith, as it's going to be more engine on engine. However, this deck does die to a bunch of layered interactions. So for this test hand, we will start off by activating our Magician's Souls, sending our copy of Dark Magician from deck to grave, summoning our Magician's Souls. Here we could do a lot of different interactions, and we do have access and avenues to go into a very similar line to our last test hand. However, I'll be going into a different line to showcase an alternative way to play the deck. So we will, with Dark Magician in grave, we will normal summon Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod will activate its effect, grabbing our copy of Soul Servant. Now, the reason why Soul Servant is important here over Secrets of Dark Magic, which is the card we're ultimately going to be searching, we just want the extra value of Soul Servant as well as deck thinning. Here we can activate our Toy Box. Toy Box will set our copies of Toy Soldier and Toy Tank. Something to note as well, if we do have access to Soul Servant, we do have access to Appaloosa in this line. However, Appaloosa, I think, is a very good combo piece, essentially, if we do get interrupted and it's kind of the last resort, or you open the absolute nuts and you can make Appaloosa on top of everything. So that's when kind of Appaloosa does come up. In this situation, we won't be going into the Appaloosa line. We will activate Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls will pitch our copies of Toy Soldier and Toy Box. We will chain our copy of Soul Servant. Soul Servant will stack our Secrets of Dark Magic, which is really interesting card for this particular list because it provides a very lethal interruption on your opponent's turn. So with Secrets of Dark Magic stacked, we will draw our 2 cards that we did use Magician's Souls for. We will activate our Toy Tank and Toy Soldier, summoning both to the field, and Toy Soldier will activate its effect, grabbing our Guiding Quem. Here, what we can do is we can use Toy Tank, pitching itself to summon Quem, and a lot of this is relatively the same. Getting to this state is relatively linear, as I was saying before. However, post this game state, it really depends on what you're playing and how you think your opponent's going to be interacting with you, the level of your opponent, things like that all come into question with how you want to progress your game state after this state. So we will link off our Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod will link off into our Artemis. Quem will activate its effect, summoning our Blazing Cartesia. Here we can use Artemis and Magician's Souls into a card like Cross Sheep. We can activate Blazing Cartesia's effect, fusing itself and Quem into a card like Grand Guignol. Grand Guignol Chainlink 1, Cross Sheep Chainlink 2, summoning back our Blazing Cartesia. Or Quem in this situation, it doesn't really matter. Once you utilize both of these, it doesn't matter. You can make Lulu Walleth here with either of them, so it's perfectly fine. But the idea here is just to have a level 4 body on board to proceed with further combos. Grand Guignol will send El Shaddoll Apkalloo into the graveyard, grabbing us our Shaddoll Schism. Here we could pitch whatever we want. We'll probably pitch our second Toy Box because we don't need it after this state. And here what we can do is we can link the overlay these 2 cards into a Daigusto Emerald. Daigusto Emerald can detach one of these to summon our Dark Magician. And here we can link these 2 off into, for example, a card like SP Little Knight. If your opponent, has spell, or if you have more spell cards, more access to spell cards, for example, if you had Wanted engraved, you can go into Selene, and that gives you access to Appaloosa. However, we don't have that luxury right now, which is totally fine. This is more than enough in this situation. So once we get to this state, what we will do is we will essentially set our Secrets of Dark Magic, Sinful Spoils of Doom, and Shaddoll Schism. And in the end phase, we will grab our Blazing Cartesia. Now, here is where everything gets a little awesome. What we can do in this situation is on our opponent's turn, as they are playing through their board or whatever the case is, we can Sinful Spoils of Doom targeting Grand Guignol or Dark Magician. Doesn't matter in this situation. Probably Dark Magician because it is a Dark Magician deck, so why not go with that? We can target the Dark Magician to pretty much board wipe the opponent and make Dark Magician unaffected for the turn, which is really awesome. Following that up, what we can do is we can go effect of Secrets of Dark Magic if our opponent does proceed with his plays. So say he has 2 monsters on board and we go Sinful Spoils of Doom, wiping the board, which is really, really strong. And then he continues summoning more monsters, or we can go Secrets of Dark Magic, fusing the Dark Magician Granguignol and Blazing Cartesia to essentially make a Guardian Chimera. Now, Guardian Chimera, what this will allow us to do is pop 2 bodies on board and draw a free card. We drew Timaeus. In addition to this, we have our Shaddoll Schism, which is really great. We can make our El Shaddoll Winda, as we normally do. In addition to this, if we think that our opponent does have the if your opponent only has 1 more line of play, an option to do instead of Guardian Chimera, well, we'll still be making Guardian Chimera, but after activating Sinful Spoilers of Doom, we can go Rod, Tribute, Granguignol, grabbing Rod back to our hand to essentially have draw 2 instead of a draw 1 and pop 2. So we have a lot of flexibility with what we want to do as far as interacting with our opponent's game state, which is really awesome there. In addition to that, we do have an Ash Blossom if our opponent goes into that avenue, and then we have an SP Little Knight Banish. So that's kind of the layered interactions. Our opponent's not going to be able to break through any of this, and if they do, you know, GG's to them. They are just built different. Here we can go Granguignol, summon our Despian Lulu-Lilith, which is an interruption again on our opponent's turn. All of this is played under Winda, which is really, really strong. And after all this is said and done, we do have a Soul Servant in our grave to draw 1 on the follow-up. In addition, what we can do is we can go into cards like Selene and Access Code to pretty much clean up the board and clean up the game that way if needed. So that's it for the test hand and combo video, and kind of a quick discussion over how I've done over the last few weeks at Locals. Reminder, if you do want to participate in the giveaway, please like, subscribe, and comment what Dark Magician support you want to see in the future, and I'll be giving away both the Magician Souls and the Illusion of Chaos playsets to 2 lucky winners. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. I can't thank everyone enough for the endless support I've received and the love in the comments. Thank you so much.